Hey guys, glad to share another ponder with you and start a new series for theories on the future of humanity. Where are we headed? What's the future gonna look like? Will it even be recognizable? Are we humans even gonna have a seat at the table? I know, I keep starting these new series, but if you're anything like me, your mind just jumps and bounces around with fascinating new theories like a kid with ADHD in a disco ball store. So as we progress as a species, and assuming we don't destroy ourselves in the next couple of decades by nuclear, climate, or some other existential threat, then it's fair game, an open season to brainstorm all sorts of amazing theories as to where the human species is headed. So let's jump right into it, and let's start at the end. That's a fair question, right? Everything has to come to an end at some point, so what happens to the end of us? Do we meld with machine, and humans as we know them today are fundamentally no more? Does the universe come to a grinding halt, and we just cease to exist?
Here we are, the end of the universe.
Or do we learn everything there is to know about the universe, get bored, and then say sayonara and end our existence because, what else is there to do? Well, those are all very credible theories by credible futurists. But let's take a step back. How does one predict the future? Well, I would argue that you can't predict anything without first identifying a pattern. So what is the pattern that human species have demonstrated in the short time we've been around? What trait typically can be associated with us and brought us through the years of evolution to our current state today? The need for speed. The need for control. Think about it. Ever since the caveman days, every form of new technology, from stone tools to nuclear reactors, are an attempt to gain a little more control over nature. For the longest time, nature has held the cards. It controls our environment, our lifespan, what we breathe, what we eat. But little by little, we humans are taking tiny bits of control away from nature. We have houses with controlled climates with air conditioning. We have bug zappers to control whether or not we're bugged by bugs. We have medical advancements to expand our lifetime. Over and over, we humans have been fighting to take control over the natural order of things. So really the question about the end of humanity is going to come down to one of two outcomes. We are either going to gain complete control over the universe, or we don't. Let's look at both of these possibilities. Let's start with the first outcome. We do gain control over the entirety of the universe. So how does one take the wheel of the full expanse of the universe? We're talking about taking control of massive galaxies down to the very tiniest of subatomic particles. Well, there's only one answer I can think of. Why nanobots, of course! Now yes, I understand we're entering sci-fi cliche DEFCON 7 here, so be prepared to throw a dash of salt at it. But theoretically, it might be possible with replicating nanobots, considering the exponential rate of replication. For example, you may have heard the old legend of the Lord Krishna and the local king. The king offered any reward to Krishna, and the sage modestly asked for just a few grains of rice in the following manner. The king was to put a single grain of rice on the first chess square and double it on every following one. Well, that's the exponential rate that we're talking about. From 1 doubled to 2, doubled to 4, and so on, until the time we hit the last square, we're talking a total of 18 quintillion grains of rice. So maybe it's possible, but that could lead us to an apocalyptic scenario. Now, I don't know how many atoms there are in the universe, and I wouldn't begin to know how to calculate how long it would take for a nanobot to replicate, but that could lead us to an apocalyptic scenario known as the gray goo theory, which is a hypothetical end of the universe scenario where self-replicating nanotechnology goes out of control and consumes all mass in the universe, fundamentally turning all matter into gray nanobot poop. And we don't want that. So what's outcome number 2? We don't take control of the universe. It's probably not feasible to control an entire universe, and maybe we'll be too freaked out about the gray goo theory to even try. So if we're always itching to control nature, well, what's the next best thing? how about we create our own universe? Creating our own simulated universe, or even just our own little virtual galaxy, seems to me a bit more likely than taking control over a real universe. If we could create a simulated reality, then we would have all the control we would ever want. We set our own limitations, our own existential problems, struggles, joys, maybe even our own minds. But would we want to throw our minds into a virtual experience permanently? Well, maybe. There are some future events that could make that option very attractive. If you haven't heard the concept yet, many scientists, astronomers, theoretical physicists believe that the ever-expanding universe will simply stop. In other words, energy from the entire universe will eventually be expelled, and everything we know and love will just freeze. This is called the Big Freeze, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. So what are the options? Maybe we hop into a virtual world. You might think, well, what's that got to do with anything? We'll still run out of time, right? Well, objectively, yes. But subjectively, no. You see, as energy in the universe depletes, we need a civilization that uses as little energy as possible. That might require us to shut down, huge Dyson spheres or whatever energy generators we use and go into a digital hibernation. We can also theoretically buy more time, if not virtual, perceptive time. You see, if the virtual machine's processing can be higher than a human brain, we could virtually slow down our perception of time. Like the opposite of, say, Skyrim time or Grand Theft Auto time compared to real time, one day in real universe time could equal 100 years of our perception of time in this virtual world. But do not forget this one thing, dear friends. With the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. Okay. Another theory for another time. So maybe we're just floating in space on an old floppy drive and just living out our virtual lives. But here's another question. Would it take the threat of the deep freeze to push us all into a virtual existence? Or would we simply choose to jump into a virtual world so as to have more control? Or maybe because we're bored. At some point, well before we control the entirety of the universe, we're going to know everything there is to know about our existence in this universe. All the questions will be answered, and don't you think eventually we're just gonna get bored? As mentioned earlier, a lot of futurists believe that we'll just eventually, end it. We'll collectively kick the bucket or pull the plug, but maybe not necessarily, or at least not at first. You see, the trend in new technology, especially in the entertainment world, opens up new possibilities to explore, not just in the unknown of outer space, but also within our own minds. Would it be possible that the universe is just a game we played for a few million years and then decided it pales in comparison to our own imaginations? So the next question to ask is not how infinite our universe is, but how infinite is our own creativity. A lot to ponder this week, guys, and as always, I would love to hear your thoughts. Please share your ideas in the comments. Where are we headed? Something hopeful? Something dreadful? Please like and subscribe so we can keep these fun theories going. And as always, I appreciate you guys, and until next time, stay pondering.